Now we are going to be using one of my favorite tips that I shared at the User Group Summit in Orlando in 2019. The tip is using the macro replicator. This was actually designed by a GP user named John Arnold. He's been nominated before for the GPUG All-Star Award, and I definitely think we should all vote for him because this is a really, really cool tool that he's designed and given to the community. I'm going to have links to this tool on my website and also links on the video description. You can also see them here on this slide. So we're going to go ahead and show you how this works and a great way this can help you with importing data. Now, anytime you're doing a macro that's updating or changing data, I'd recommend that you work with your partner if you need to do a backup, because you could be bringing in information or changing information that you want to have a backup in case you make a mistake. In this case, I'm creating new vendors. Worst case scenario, I would just have to delete the new vendors that I created. So I'm not really worried about a backup. But if you're doing anything that might be changing existing records or creating new records, you may want to back up first. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this file. I can download it from this website. And when I download it, it's just going to look like this. It's going to be a blank replicator slide or worksheet. If it does say anything about enabling macros, make sure you click that yes to enable. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create the data that we're going to import. So what we're going to do is have another spreadsheet. And my other spreadsheet, these are vendors that I'm going to be creating. Now I'm creating test vendors, so I just took some vendor IDs in my system and added a Z to them. But you could have new vendors, maybe a new company you're creating. When I do this, one thing I want to do is make sure that I take this and I format it as a table. The reason I want to format it as a table is that that's what the macro or the replicator is going to look for. When I make it a table, I want to name the table so it's easier to find. Otherwise, it's called table 1, 2. You don't know which one you're importing. So we're going to say I called it new vendors. Over in the replicator, I'm going to replace the data table with that new vendors table. And now we've got our list. The other side is going to be where we're going to put a macro. So we're going to record a macro inside of GP and then bring the macro into this side. So the macro we're going to record, we're going to be creating new vendor. So instead of starting from a blank screen, I'm actually starting inside of the vendor maintenance screen. When I do this, I'm going to just run it from inside of this screen. I'm not running it from the home page. So now inside of the vendor maintenance, I'm just going to hit Tools, Macro, and Record. And I'm going to record over my test one I did earlier, so that's okay to save over it. And we're just going to go test. I did a test vendor one earlier, so we'll get rid of these later. I'm making that one word because I'm going to get rid of that in just a second. All of mine happen to be in the same class, so I'm just going to put that. And I'm going to put an address ID, and then I'm going to hit Save. Now I hit Tools, Macro, and Stop Record. Go back over to my replicator, and I'm going to say Import Macro File. Find that macro file. And now what I want to do is change a couple fields. You'll notice in here, there's that vendor ID I just created, test vendor 2, test name down there. Those are the only two fields for my very simple macro that I need to replace. If I was including the vendor address, I would see address 1, address 2, city, state. I'm not doing that right now. We're just going to do a very easy one. So now what I'm going to do is get rid of this. And in the description up here, it says replace the macro lines with these little test data column name or record number. So we're going to do that. It's the symbol that's above the bracket next to the letter P on your keyboard. So we're going to hit that first little brackety thing. And we're going to call this vendor ID. And then the other little brackety thing. And then we're going to go down to test name. Same thing here. Get rid of the word test name, but leave the little apostrophe things there. So we're going to go ahead and do the little symbol there. And then the closing symbol. So those are two separate symbols. One's the one right next to the letter P, and one's one over from that. We're going to go ahead, and now I'm going to hit replicate at the top. I already did a test, so I'm just going to save over that test, and we're going to say import vendor and save, and yes, and it created 10 versions of that macro. Now I just go back into the window, and I'm going to say tools, macro, play, and we're going to hit import. And just that quick, I created 10 vendors in 3 seconds. Now I could have included more information. It maybe had taken a couple extra seconds, but you'll see it's very, very quick. I've used this same macro to update information. If I wanted to change the address, I could use it to update or create email addresses. I could use it to import all kinds of information. It's a really amazing tool. This is just a very basic way to use it, but at least kind of shows you how you can use that to create new records without having to do a mail merge inside of Word, which is how I used to do mass updates with using macros. Hope this tip helps you. If you have any questions about any of these tips, please go to our website, www.trainingdynamo.com, and you can also submit questions on the contact page and let us know what you think. Thank you again, and I hope you enjoyed the tip, and have a great day.